This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Frieda, North Haven's first Selectman, and welcome to our June Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm joined, as always, by our second Selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third Selectwoman, Ms. Sally Buemi. Thank you again for joining us. I'd like to start by asking everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 2, any public comments to tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move to item number 3, the approval of the minutes from the Board of Selectmen meeting of May 3rd.
I'll move the approval of those minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 4, the approval of the minutes of the special Board of Selectmen meeting of May 8th.
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5, we have Mr. John Parisi here this evening, and I'd like to kind of set the stage tonight. Last month, we lost a great man here in North Haven, former First Selectman Richard Perrett, who served as First Selectman of North Haven in 1969 and 1970. Richard was a consummate gentleman and a man that I really grew to respect greatly when I took office. And he, for me, was very helpful. Despite the fact that we were from different political parties, when I first took office, Mr. Perrett called me and gave me some sage advice and told me that he thought I had great potential, which I appreciated, but also shared with me some of his experiences back in the late 60s and early 1970s. And I came away from that discussion with, this is a very classy man taking the time to call me to wish me the best of luck in my new career at that time. And also, after reviewing the history of Mr. Perrett, he made significant contributions to the town of North Haven. So when our friend John Parisi called me, who has worked with Mr. Perrett, worked with him for many years at Parisi, Perrett, Caldwell, Parisi, and Porto, I believe, the juxtaposition in names sometimes. Close enough, okay. John asked if it would be okay to say a few words on behalf of Mr. Perrett, and I was delighted to tell John we would welcome those comments, and it's great to see the Perrett family here. So thank you for coming. He was a great man, a man whom we greatly respected, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Parisi. John?
Thank you, Mr. Frieda, and Mr. Frieda, Mr. Piper, and Ms. Buemi, thank you very much for this opportunity to share a few remembrances that I have of my longtime law partner, Dick Perrett. Dick passed away last month at his home in Naples, Florida, where he had retired a few years ago after a long and distinguished career as a highly accomplished and well-regarded trial attorney in Connecticut. That career was interrupted for a few years when he served as First Selectman of the town of North Haven. I stand before you to reflect upon that time and to try to add a bit of context to his service to the town. If there were ever an example of the United States being the land of opportunity, it was Dick Perrett. Dick grew up in a family of modest means in New Haven, attended New Haven public schools, graduated from Commercial High School, since renamed Wilbur Cross. After his graduation, he enlisted in the United States Air Force, served in the Korean conflict, and after his service to our country in the armed services, was able to attend the University of Connecticut and Georgetown Law School on the GI Bill. I remember a conversation Dick and I had many years ago, and he was telling me what a racket he had when he was in law school, which kind of surprised me. He said, "John, the government paid for my tuition, they paid for my books, I was married, so they gave me a housing allowance, I had it made." I asked him, "Dick, what'd you pay in your taxes last year?" As he was thinking about that, but before he could answer, I chimed in with the rhetorical question of, "You think the government got their money back for the investment in your education?" The answer, of course, was yes. Dick was a man of many interests. He was an avid outdoorsman, particularly enjoying boating and fishing. He served as a commander in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. He was a member and past president of the North Haven Lions Club. He was a fourth-degree member of the Knights of Columbus. He was a member and past Toastmaster of the Mayflower Society, a 25-year member of the Barbershop Harmony Society, and he was a life member of the American Legion and Disabled American Veterans. Dick played cards with the same group of friends every Tuesday night for as long as I knew him, and I knew him for a long time. We're honored to have with us one of the members of that group, Mr. Swinkowski. The common interest and common thread of all these widely varied activities was the opportunity to spend quality time with friends and family. Dick treasured his friends and family. He especially enjoyed the Perrette Vacation Home at the Cape, where he spent many happy days on the beach and on the bay, boating and fishing. With so many interests, it's hard to isolate a few. But I would have to say that Dick had three great loves in his life. First and foremost, his family. He was a loving and nurturing father to Rick, Kathy, and Linda. For more than 60 years, a loving and devoted husband to Ruth. His children, Rick and Linda, are here this evening, and I'm sure you know how much he loved you and how proud of you he was. Then there was the practice of law. I joined Perrette and Porto in 1976. It was one of those deals, I went looking for a job and I found a home. I learned a lot from Dick over the 4 decades when I was privileged to call him my partner. One of the many things I admired about him was his self-control. Rick and Linda, your memories may vary from mine a bit. I don't ever remember him being angry. I don't ever remember him raising his voice. He never used foul language. Dick was the consummate gentleman. He was very proud of his profession and very grateful that he could put his talents to productive use for his clients. As a counselor and advocate, he embraced the intellectual challenges presented by the practice of law, and he had what seemed to be unlimited energy and imagination when it came to representing his clients in court. And last, and certainly not least, was the town of North Haven. Dick was a somewhat surprising winner in 1969. Out of more than 8,600 votes cast, his margin of victory was a slim 360 votes. Spoiler alert. His margin of defeat 2 years later was 121 votes. Let's review what happened in North Haven between those two elections. 37-year-old Richard J. Perrette walked into the first selectman's office with the conviction that the purpose of government, particularly local government, was to enhance the lives of its citizens. And in the 2 years he served as first selectman, he put that principle into practice. To prepare for my remarks this evening, I spent a couple of afternoons in the town clerk's office going through the minutes of the 1969 and 1970 town meetings. I learned that Perrette's election actually inspired the creation of the self-styled Concerned Citizens Council. whose primary and possibly only concern was to try to slow Dick down from spending money. Well, good luck with that, because as it turns out, they had ample reason to be concerned. I'm going to run down the more significant things that occurred in North Haven during Dick's administration. The role of the Parks and Recreation Department was expanded, Montagues and Memorial Fields were enhanced, and Grover Wyman Park was built. We got a commission on aging and a senior citizen center on Pool Road. A new memorial library was built at its current location on Elm Street. The former memorial library is now home to the Historical Society. We got a paid fire department with John Rosadini serving as its first chief. And a building committee was formed for the construction of what is now fire headquarters. Townwide residential trash pickup was initiated, and the Department of Public Works got a small fleet of garbage trucks. And North Haven celebrated its 300th anniversary. And, as you might expect, Dick served as the chair of the North Haven Tercentenary celebration. The fact that all of that was done in a 2-year span, while the day-to-day operations of town government continued, is pretty remarkable. But as they say on late-night television, but wait, there's more. When Dick held the office, first selectman was considered a part-time position. As you know, the voters of North Haven did not see fit to give him a second term, and in 1971, Lester Gott was elected first selectman. I always sort of suspected that the town needed to take a breather. Dick was elected third selectman, and although the defeat had to be a bitter pill for him to swallow, the people of North Haven elected him, and he served his term to completion and never ran for elected office again. However, he did not disappear from North Haven government or service to the town of North Haven. In addition to the community and civic activities I had mentioned earlier, he was a justice of the peace. He served on the Charter Commission. He chaired the Housing Authority. And in 2008 and 2009, he was town attorney. And to bring this full circle, I remind you of his enjoyment of the outdoors and the camaraderie he shared with family and friends. Until now, I did not mention his golfing skills. For a fellow who did not grow up in a country club or even take up the game till much later in life, Dick was pretty bad. But he never let the score bother him, because his enjoyment of the game came from spending time with friends and family. And I'm going to share with you the words of wisdom that Dick gave to me, because I'm not going on the golf tour anytime soon either. He told me, John, the best part about golf is when you're all done, there's no dead fish to clean. I hope you never have to call on our professional firefighters, but if you do, or when you walk your trash to the curb this week, or enjoy our library, or get to spend some time with your kids or grandkids at one of our beautiful parks, I humbly and respectfully ask that you say a prayer or think a kind thought for my dear friend and one of the best friends the town of North Haven ever had, Dick Perrette. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Very nice comments.
Wonderful.
Very nice.
Especially because what's so nice about what John said too is that so many of the things that we have as services and that I think as residents in North Haven, we take for granted. You know, it's something we've always had. There was a time when we didn't have them. So I think that's, I think that going back and the time that you spent going through the minutes and the initiatives in terms of the, the library, the trash pickup, the senior center, all those things that the fire department, all the things that that I think a lot of the things that make our town, such a great place to live, had its origins during his tenure as first selectman. So, but that was a great remembrance of a number of things that have been done that I think are very important to all of us as residents of North Haven. So thank you.
Thank you,
Right.
John. Sally?
Yes, that was a great tribute, John. If I could just echo what you were saying about his calming demeanor. I had the opportunity as an attorney to work with him a couple of times, and I always found his incredibly calming demeanor to be very helpful in reaching agreement. And he was just so intelligent and always seemed to promote a consensus amongst dueling parties. And on a personal note, he was always a great advisor to me, not only in my earlier political career in the 80s, but back in 2013 when I considered my return to town government. He was the first phone call that I made, and I have fond appreciation and respect for the advice that he gave me over the years. So again, I welcome the family. My condolences to your family. He was a great man. Thank you.
And to the family members, thank you for coming tonight. Wonderful words from John Parisi. And sometimes what gets lost here in this very room is the pictorial billboard in the back of which Mr. Perret's picture is proudly displayed.
You can see how young he was.
There's 23 first selectmen of North Haven there, first selectmen, first select women of North Haven. Mr. Perret is proudly displayed there among a list of 22 others. Thank you very much, John.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move to item number 6 in terms of the first selectman's overview. I wanted to report for those watching on live TV and for those residents who are here that we're going to be moving forward and calling a town meeting for June 25th, right, Valerie?
Correct.
The meeting will be at the high school, and we will be having a special Board of Selectmen meeting next Thursday night here. That meeting will be at 5:30. The only item on the agenda will be to call for the town meeting. We call it warning the town meeting for the 25th. Now, I wanted to share with you tonight what we have for that town meeting that we will be warning next Thursday. There's a variety of issues that we've been working on in the past several months. And one of them is a standard thing we do every year. It's a approval of the Connecticut Neighborhood Assistance Act. That's standard procedure. We do that every year. As you know, we have had many discussions here on a fracking ordinance. So our attorneys have been working. We've took some sample ordinances from other towns. We had speakers here. Jennifer was here. And we'll be moving forward presenting that at the town meeting at the high school on the 25th, the fracking ordinance. We are based on a recommendation from the Board of Ethics. They requested a change in the ethics ordinance that was put in place back in 2009. And the requested change was that they meet quarterly instead of monthly. That requires a change in the ordinance, which means we have to bring it to a town meeting. So that recommendation came from the Ethics Commission. We will be talking about an update on our solid waste and recycling ordinance that's been mandated by the Connecticut Department of Environmental and Energy Protection, something all the municipalities have to go through. And a very important item on that agenda is I'd like to move forward with an enhanced level of school security, which will include school officers, resource officers in each elementary school, the middle school, and there's already one in the high school. And what we're trying to do also, ladies and gentlemen, is in addition to that, we are hoping, Valerie's helping me with this with our town attorney. I asked the superintendent of schools for a proposal on what we need to do to secure our schools in a more enhanced fashion. Now, our middle school is up to state specifications for all the updated security protocols. Our high school because it's about 12 years old, needs to be updated slightly, but my concern has always been in the elementary schools, and we will be looking to present a plan that would require a bond referendum to enhance the schools. And we have to be careful, I want to let everyone know this, that we can't get into all the specifics on what those security enhancements would be, because as any security expert will tell you, that the more you divulge, the more someone out there can exploit the intricacies of what we would like to implement. My goal is to get school resource officers in all of the schools, in addition, overlaying on top of that, a robust, intensely protective security set of protocols in all of our schools. And those schools would be an enhancement of the high school again and the 4 elementary schools. These are the items, ladies and gentlemen, that we will be calling the town meeting for next Thursday. So I would encourage everyone on June 25th to come out to that meeting. Next week is just simply a procedural meeting to call the meeting. And then all the presentations will be made at that meeting. Okay, Sally? Bill?
The town meeting on June 25th
Yes.
will be at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock,
Right.
yes.
Not-
At the high school.
Not to be confused with the 5:30 time for a week from today, which is the administrative procedural requirement
Exactly.
for our special, okay.
Right. And the only other thing I wanted to make mention, and I can give more of an update and new businesses coming in at the next meeting, but there was a rumor I saw on Facebook, it was a question, I should say, that the question was, we heard Amazon is not coming, does anyone know about it? So I quickly got on there and said, I can assure everybody, they will be here. If you drive by there, you'll see the 4 walls basically under construction, foundation's been poured. We're looking at May 2019 at the latest, of which that facility will be fully up and running. So I'm not sure sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, how these rumors get out, but I can assure everybody they will be here. And they're here now, being built, so that's that update. All right. So now let's move to the next item.
Can I just say,
Yes.
I didn't ask for this to go on the agenda, if I could just piggyback on your overview. I was at the town hall today, and I noticed across the street, they were working on the cemetery
Yes.
repairs that we had
Yeah.
talked about a couple of years back. So I went over there and was talking to the guys there, and they were explaining to me some of the techniques they were using, and it looks like it's going really well.
It is, yeah.
And I was really happy to
Yeah,
see the progress that's being made. As you know, I was very concerned
yes.
about how the condition that that cemetery was in, and so they've stood up quite a few of the.
Yes. Looks-
It looks
a lot of
nice.
progress, right?
Yeah, and I learned a lot about the different materials, the brownstone versus the marble, and the different challenges that the types of material for the stones present to them. So I just thought I'd mention that I thought the progress was going very well.
Very good.
So if you don't mind
No.
me mentioning that, that's it.
Okay. Item number 7, the approval of the dates of the 2019 Board of Selectmen meetings. These meetings, of course, are held every Thursday, the first Thursday of the month. So did everyone have a chance to, well, we have those here, right, in here, in the package?
They follow, the
They
dates
follow.
are as follow right in
Okay.
the agenda.
All right,
Yeah,
so,
should we read these, or
No.
do we need a motion to approve?
We just
these?
need a
We
motion to
do,
approve.
and because it goes into the town calendar for
Right.
next year, so you have to agree to those.
Well,
dates.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen regular meetings for the first Thursday of the month, 7 o'clock, Room 1, Memorial Town Hall, 18 Church Street, North Haven, for the year 2019, January 3rd, February 7th, March 7th, April 4th, May 2nd, June 6th, July 11th, August 1st, September 5th, October 3rd, November 7th, and December 5th. I'll make that motion.
Can I just add that, excuse me, can I just add that the July 11th is actually the week after, because July 4th falls
Oh,
on
excuse-
Thursday
okay.
this year. So just one, that's the only date that had a conflict, so I
Okay.
just moved it out 1 week.
So I'll amend my motion that it's the first Thursday of the month, except for July, which would be the 4th, and making it July 11th. So with that amendment, I'll move those dates.
I'll second.
All right, motion second. Any other discussion on the dates? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Bill and Sally, if you could take it from here on the appointments.
First appointment tonight is actually a reappointment for Lynn Frederickson, 95 Pool Road, to the Cemetery Commission for a 2-year term to expire on June 30th, 2020.
I'll second the reappointment.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Lynn, thank you for your service on that cemetery commission. Sally?
I'll make a motion to reappoint James Redmond, 47 Pool Road, to the Cemetery Commission for a 2-year term to expire June 30th, 2020.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, James, for your service on our cemetery commission. Okay, Bill?
And then the last appointment we have is a reappointment of James Iovina, 600 Washington Avenue, Unit F4, to the Blight Prevention Appeals Board for a 2-year term to expire June 30th, 2020.
I'll second that reappointment.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Bill, if you could take number 9, okay?
Yes, I'm recusing myself from number 9.
We have a list of property tax refunds.
All right, so,
You could just move them as listed.
None of which are based on the dollar amount or what they relate to, I think, any financial significance. So I'll make a motion to approve the property tax refunds.
all right, I'll second that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 10, we're really at the end of the agenda, and the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen is Tuesday, July 6th, here upstairs at our conference room at Memorial Town Hall. And once again, remember, next Thursday, 5:30, special Board of Selectmen meeting, June 25th, 7 o'clock at the high school, our town meeting. We're at the point, ladies and gentlemen, item number 11, public comment. Mary White.
Mary White, Summer Lane. Let's see, I just have a few topics. So when the budgets were presented at the last budget town meeting, the changes that were made on the town side and the BOE side were not shown, highlighted up on the screen. And many residents wanted to see what changes and cuts had occurred that resulted in a different budget with a lower mill rate increase than what was previously presented to the residents. People wanted to see how the mill rate increase went from 1.7 down to 0.65. So my question is, can both you, Mike, for the town side, and Dr. Cronin for the BOE side of the budget show highlighted changes at the last budget town meeting from now on, so residents can see and are able to understand what changes and cuts had occurred?
Of course, and we've done that for years here.
Yeah.
And let me just explain what happened at that meeting, but let me go back in time, because I never realized something, that when I first came and took office, I was the first selectman in the history of North Haven that actually presented a budget and did a PowerPoint presentation.
Wow.
So in the past, there'd always been budget books at the meetings. Now, I didn't realize this. That was normal standard operating procedure for me in my corporate career in terms of presenting things like that. So what happened down through the years, we would do just what Mary was saying. But for some reason, this last town meeting took a different turn. When the moderator asked if there was any discussions, you may remember Bob Cronin standing up because he was scheduled to go first, but the residents marched to the microphones first. So the residents were speaking. Now, we as elected officials and superintendent, we don't want to interrupt the residents because they immediately came to the podium. At the end, when there was no questions, the meeting was adjourned, so we didn't get a chance to do what we would normally do. So to answer your question, Mary, the answer is yes. And if you would like, at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, I can take you through the town decrements, okay?
Okay.
How's that?
I think a lot of just a lot of people were like, well, what happened?
Right.
Where did it go? You know, because I was expecting to see it, and
Right.
I was like, it did seem like there was some confusion a little bit.
So there was a little bit of confusion, but in the end, we saw was exactly the way it was all those years before I took office.
Yeah.
But it was the moderator, though, who controlled the flow of
Right.
the meeting, and
Yes.
he just immediately opened, there was one image on the screen up there, and it just said something very general, like
Budget
the
town
budget.
meeting, yeah.
And, you know, myself included was expecting the presentation, but the moderator just all of a sudden just asked by us, I mean citizens, to come up, and so that's what citizens did. So
Yeah.
you mean there was a PowerPoint
Oh, yeah.
presentation
Oh,
ready to be
wow.
given?
We had it,
I
right.
found it a little odd too, because years and years ago, it was always the finance director who went line by line and explained everything.
But it was
and-
done verbally with the book.
Yes,
So-
yes, yes.
But we
Yeah.
answer,
Oh,
we'll get back to that
That's-
format.
Yeah,
okay?
I
that's
think that's
good.
the-
Yeah, because this way it just answers so many questions.
Right.
And
I
it
understand.
helps people understand the difference between what was presented at the public hearing versus what
Right.
what is being presented actually at the referendum, because that's what comes up
Next.
at the budget town meeting, the first Monday of May. So I agree with you, Mary.
Okay, all right, thanks. So I was happy to hear that the fracking waste ban ordinance is on the agenda for the June 25th town meeting. But I just wanted to give people a little explanation as to why North Haven is going with their own fracking waste ordinance. So I spoke with Jennifer Siskine after the legislative session ended, and she stated that Senate Bill 103, which is the permanent ban for fracking waste in Connecticut, did not get called for a vote. The bill was passed over by the Senate from being voted on. And part of the issue was other bills were needing to be passed, and there was not agreement on the bill's language. And there was concern some senators might start an endless debate and delay progress on other bills as well. So there is no definite that the bill will be brought up in a future session. There's no definite that the parties will come to an understanding, and so it's great that North Haven's going to move forward and ban it locally. Let's see. So relative to the what you mentioned, Mike, about the robust security protocols at the schools, can you tell us if the town received any money for school security from the state or federal government?
No, we have not.
Okay, because I had spoken with Dr. Cronin about it, and he said this round, I guess that the governor was talking about, the $10 million, he said the town had to fill out the paperwork and apply for it. So we didn't get it, we got denied, or we don't know.
You know, I know we haven't received it, and I'd have to check because the Board of Education has to submit the applications. That they would do that versus us for the grant. So I'm not sure if Tina did that over there, but I can tell you we have not
Yeah.
received anything, so.
Yeah, because maybe I'm a little confused, because when I asked him about if the Board of Ed had applied for that latest round to get something for school security, and he said they'd done it in the past and they've received some funds, but he said this round, he said the town had to apply.
Okay.
So-
Then I'd have to check with Ed, who was just here, so.
Yeah, so I was
But
just,
I'm not aware that.
I'm just trying to follow, just to
Okay.
make sure, because if there's any money that we could get,
Right.
All right. So, Mike, I had wanted to ask you, I had brought up at the Board of Finance meeting about a fifth member being added to the new fire committee, particularly an individual who has experience in fire safety, fire department policies and procedures. Do you know if another member has been added?
I don't know. I don't even think they've convened yet, actually.
Yeah, that was
so.
going to be one of my next question. So they haven't met yet? Okay.
Yeah.
So at the Board of Finance meeting, the chair stated that the new fire committee would be reporting to the Board of Selectmen. Do you have any idea who on the committee is going to report? I don't know if they have a chair or anything.
No, it's, again, they haven't met, and I don't think that there'll be a chair. The chief will be part of it, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and Ed, but they haven't met. Quite frankly, today, earlier was a good example. I was over at the fire department, and we just got our new ladder truck in. So the the fire department is preoccupied in a good way with the new apparatus and their training over there. They're moving it up and down. I actually went up myself, and I was up on the top of it earlier this evening. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, Mary, but I can tell you that we'll always keep an open mind based on calls for service in the next budget and the workshop sessions. I'm not sure where the committee's going, but I know they have not met.
Okay, because I know that they're doing, like, the fire chief is gathering data, and also I thought that there was potential for a meeting with Yale Urgent Care Center and also AMR. Do you know if either of those meetings have taken place?
Neither meeting has taken place. The chief has done some research with Yale. He came back to me with some calls that could be culled out, if you will, but there's been no official meeting with Yale and no meetings with AMR.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So I wanted to give some current statistics for everybody. So the Fire Commission met on May 22nd, and the fire chief reported the total alarms year-to-date is 1,804. That number represents 84 more alarms than this time in 2017. So again, anyone who states there is not an increase in the number of fire department emergencies alarms is not stating the truth. There were 16 fire department paramedic transport calls to the hospital in the ambulance with AMR in order to maintain the continuity of care. So AMR failed to provide a paramedic in the ambulance, and so 16 times the fire department's paramedic went in the ambulance to the hospital. There were 359 alarms or emergency calls for help since the last time the Fire Commission met. 60% of the calls were for emergency medical service, advanced life support. Of those 359 calls, 92 were overlapping emergency calls. The 92 overlapping simultaneous calls for service represent 26% of the total number of incidents. That is crazy high. So 92 people did not receive the fire department's paramedic because he was out responding to other simultaneous emergencies. If one more person dies because they did not receive the fire department's paramedic, then that is one more person too many. So the Board of Finance must include firemen paramedics in the next budget to begin to address the public health and safety hazard of only one fireman paramedic on per shift. With the increase in fire department call volume every month, with economic development happening in town, Yale Urgent Care Center, Divine Street, residential development, Lexington Gardens, Indian Ridge, 109 senior assisted living units on Clintonville, and with the planning and zoning working on passing an amendment to the zoning regulations to allow 200 senior independent living condos in the IL 80 zone. The already strained fire department will be strained even more, and so the fire department will simply not be able to respond to emergency calls for help. The Board of Finance failed to increase fire department public safety for personnel and fire trucks to handle the increase in call volume and the increase in development in town. So as good of a town North Haven is to live, work, shop, dining, the biggest drawback now is not enough investment by the Board of Finance in the fire department public safety personnel and equipment. So I'm hoping with the next budget season, we're able to work on that.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We'll see everyone at the next Board of Selectmen meeting. Thank you.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.